Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage on the edge of a sprawling Sunderpold forest, lived a sweet young girl. Everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood, because she was never seen without the beautiful red cloak her grandmother had made for her. One bright morning, her mother handed her a basket filled with fresh bread, sweet butter, and a pot of delicious honey. "Take this to your grandmother," she said, her voice warm but firm. "She's feeling a bit under the weather, and this will surely cheer her up." She gave her daughter a gentle hug and added a crucial warning. "Now, remember, go straight to Grandma's house. Don't dawdle in the woods, and most importantly, don't talk to any strangers." Little Red Riding Hood, eager to help her beloved grandma, nodded enthusiastically. "I'll be very careful, Mother, I promise." And with a cheerful wave, she skipped out the door and onto the winding path that led into the great green forest. The woods were alive with the songs of birds and the rustling of leaves. Sunlight streamed through the canopy, creating dancing patterns on the forest floor. Little Red Riding Hood was so enchanted by the beauty around her that she momentarily forgot her mother's warning. She stopped to pick a bouquet of wildflowers for her grandmother, their vibrant colors a delight to her eyes. As she was gathering a particularly lovely bluebell, a shadow fell over her. She looked up and saw a pair of intelligent, gleaming eyes. It was a large wolf, but he didn't look scary at all. In fact, he had a rather charming smile. "Good morning, little miss," he said, his voice as smooth as velvet. "And where might you be off to so early on this fine day?" Forgetting all about her promise, Little Red Riding Hood thought it would be rude not to answer. "I'm on my way to my grandmother's house," she replied politely. "She lives just on the other side of the woods. I'm bringing her a basket of goodies to help her feel better." The wolf's eyes glinted with a cunning idea. "How very thoughtful of you," he exclaimed. "I'm sure she will be delighted. Tell me, where exactly does your dear grandmother live?" Innocent and trusting, Little Red Riding Hood described the little cottage with the white picket fence and the big oak tree by the door. The wolf listened intently, a wicked plan forming in his mind. "Well," he said with another disarming smile, "I mustn't keep you. It was a pleasure to meet you." And with a flick of his tail, he darted off into the trees. But he wasn't just leaving. He was taking a shortcut, a path he knew would get him to Grandma's house much, much faster, while Little Red Riding Hood continued to stroll and pick flowers. The wolf raced through the undergrowth, his paws barely touching the ground. He arrived at the little cottage, panting slightly, and knocked gently on the door. "Who's there?" a frail voice called from inside. The wolf, deepening his voice to sound like a young girl, replied, "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. I've brought you a basket of treats." The unsuspecting grandmother, too weak to get out of bed, called out, "Oh, how lovely, my dear. The latch is unlocked. Just lift it and come in." The wolf didn't hesitate. He burst into the room, and in one swift moment, he had the poor old grandmother locked away safely in a closet. Then he quickly found one of her nightgowns and a frilly sleeping cap. He pulled the cap low over his furry ears, put on her glasses, and scrambled into the bed. Pulling the covers right up to his chin, he lay there, waiting patiently. Before long, he heard the sound of light footsteps approaching the door. Little Red Riding Hood arrived, feeling a little guilty for taking so long. She knocked and, hearing a muffled come in, she entered. The cottage seemed unusually dark, with the curtains drawn tight. She approached the bed and saw her grandmother lying there, looking very strange indeed. "Grandma," she began, a little nervously, "what big ears you have." From under the covers, the wolf growled in a raspy voice, "All the better to hear you with, my dear." Red took another step closer. "But Grandma, what big eyes you have." The wolf's voice was deeper now. "All the better to see you with, my dear." Hesitantly, Red reached out a hand. "And Grandma, what big teeth you have." The wolf could no longer contain himself. He threw back the covers and roared, "All the better to eat you with." He lunged forward, but just as he was about to pounce, the cottage door burst open. A tall, strong woodcutter, who had been passing by and heard the commotion, stood in the doorway with his axe raised high. He had seen the wolf sneaking around earlier and had grown suspicious. With a mighty yell, he charged at the terrified wolf, who yelped and fled out the window, disappearing back into the forest, never to be seen near the cottage again. The woodcutter quickly helped the real grandmother out of the closet, shaken but unharmed. Little Red Riding Hood ran to her, and they hugged each other tightly. From that day forward, Little Red Riding Hood never forgot the terrifying lesson she had learned. She understood that a friendly smile can sometimes hide a dangerous secret, and that her mother's warnings were given to keep her safe. She still loved walking through the woods, but she never ever spoke to a stranger again. Thank you so much for watching our story today. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more classic tales. We'll see you next time.